Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into SIN's Thursday Night Gridiron. Football is back. I'm your host, Mike Rifkin, joined by Bill Murphy, Lawrence Lang, Dan Ryan, Noah Tremblay. Gentlemen, the wait is over.
The wait is over. And you know what that calls for?
If you say the word applause, I'm going to punch you through the computer.
I will allow you to say applause, but you're not going to yell it into your mic and we all go deaf. One episode into season 2.
Okay. Ready? Oh, God. That better?
Sure, we'll go with it. I like it.
We'll go with it. All right.
Come at me, Mike. Come at me, bro.
Oh, man. I really want to go Richard Sherman after the NFC title game against Crabtree. I really do.
I thought you were just going to go Street Profits and go, he wants to smoke.
He wants to smoke.
Different kind of smoke. All right. The season opener for the 2022. Yeah, I had to look at the calendar to make sure it's 2022. The game that opens it is a really good game. You have the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champs, the Los Angeles Rams of St. Louis, taking on, well, I'm going to say most people are picking to come out of the AFC this year, that being the Buffalo Bills. Also a great uniform combo game, too. I'm going to say that as well. So we have the Bills, we have the Rams. So last year, as mentioned, the Rams won the Super Bowl, defeating the Cincinnati Bengals on their Cinderella run. For the most part, this offseason, the Rams kept it the same. Andrew Whitworth did retire. Odell Beckham is still a free agent. He could go back. But they brought in Allen Robinson from the Bears, who did not have a good year last year. 38 catches, 410 yards, and touchdown. Aaron Donald, who apparently today, Aaron Donald was going to retire. That was revealed today by Ian Rappaport. The Rams never filed the paperwork for him to be retired. So Aaron Donald's back for another year. What do we make of the Rams off this Super Bowl run?
I think you got a team now that's emboldened. I think you see a franchise now that you've got Matthew Stafford, who he took a huge gamble. He wanted to trade out. Well, I'm sure he wanted to trade out of Detroit, but he gets the trade to the Rams. They take the big gamble by trading Goff, 2 first-round picks for the veteran that they think is going to lead into the Super Bowl. It pays off, and I think now that they know that they can do it, I think they're going to be even more dangerous because now there's no longer that chip on their shoulder, which for Matthew Stafford at this point was a full-on gorilla. But yeah, no, I think this team's going to be emboldened. I think having Donald back for another year, I mean, I will say, we talked about this, Mike, in Wishbone a couple of weeks ago, how when you look at how well the off seasons went for some teams, I think the Rams had one of the better off seasons because they lost a bunch of pieces and they just replaced them. They lose Von Miller to the Bills. They replace him with Bobby Wagner. They lose Odell Beckham Jr. to free agency. They bring in Allen Robinson, who, he did have a down year last year, but if you look at his targets, he didn't really get many compared to what he had over the last few years.
And to your point on Robinson, I brought up the numbers of last year in 2020, 102 catches, 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns. So
exactly.
The discourse of his volume that went down, I think, is more of a tribute to what the Bears were on offense, which, in a word, anemic.
Right.
Bobby Wagner, that's a good point as well. Dan, your thoughts on the Rams coming into the season?
Well, what I'm thinking is the team that's probably hungrier and wanting to go back. I definitely see that the Rams, they clearly, especially with all the changes going on within that locker room. I think that it's very important to them, at least, that they at least had the chance to try to go back with this new lineup that they have. And I think that it's very special to what they got. I think they can still be a very big powerhouse team in the NFC.
All right, Bill.
I'm gonna agree with what Reg said. You got Stafford, who is finally a Super Bowl champion. Can I get an amen? You have that awesome wide receiver core with Allen Robinson and of course Cooper Kupp. So I think this is a team that is going to be, as Reg said, hungrier, and this is a team that's got a lot of bite here. They got just a lot of bite.
To your point on Kupp last year, 145 catches, 1,947 yards, 16 touchdowns, it looks like, is what I wrote. I can't read my own handwriting. Was named Offensive Player of the Year, was also named Super Bowl MVP. Pat, your thought on the Rams?
Hey, the Rams are a team that are looking to go back to the dance, repeat as champions, and become a repeat champion. You throw Stafford in there. He was just shy of 5,000 yards passing. He had over 30 touchdowns in the league last year.
41 touchdowns.
41 touchdowns. Unbelievable for Matt Stafford after getting out of the situation in Detroit. But another person people forget to mention is Van Jefferson, who had 806 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns last season. So, he's another threat to be with that wide receiver core that go with Kupp and Allen Robinson. So look out for him this season as well to be able to prove something, to be a wide receiver that's a threat as well in that team. But the Rams are going to be good
Jefferson
this year.
may not play tonight. Sorry to cut you off.
They're expecting him to miss multiple weeks.
Yeah. So when he comes back, right. So, what? Before we get into Bills in the AFC, let's just go overall big picture in the NFC for a second, because I think we're all in agreement that the Rams are one of the teams who could win the NFC, because for my money, the big four, I'll call them, are the Rams, the Bucks, the Packers, and take your pick of the Niners, or if there's a sleeper in there. In that group of four that could win the NFC, am I off base?
Not at all.
Okay. All right, so that's the Rams side. Now we'll go to the Bills side. Just nobody put me through a table. Last year, the Bills won the AFC East. They demolished the Patriots during the wild card game. They didn't punt a single time having the football. And then
perfect NFL game, as they said.
Oh, that was one of the.
And then I'm going to just say the greatest fourth quarter I ever watched.
The greatest final 2 minutes.
The Bills and the Chiefs in the divisional round. The Chiefs wound up winning the game and going to the AFC title game while the Bills went home. But the Bills this offseason, really one massive move. Von Miller was signed to a massive contract by the Buffalo Bills. Miller last year had 9.5 sacks during the regular season. He had 4 in the playoffs, including 2 in the Super Bowl against the Bengals. So instant impact on probably the one weakness the Bills had, which really wasn't a weakness. They had 42 sacks last year. On defense, they were first in yards allowed. So that defense gets a little bit better. Brian Dable bolts to become the head coach of the Giants, which I'm not going to fault anyone for wanting to be a head coach. Ken Dorsey, who was the quarterback's coach, takes over. You guys, your thoughts on the Bills?
If this isn't their year, then it's never going to be their year. I mean, it's hard to say, but it really is. You've got Allen playing at an MVP level. You've got arguably a top 5 receiver in the league in Stephon Diggs. You've got a great second receiver in Gabriel Davis, who in that Chiefs game had 4 touchdowns, which made him a star overnight. You've got a really decent tight end in Dawson Knox. You've got a good offensive line, great front 7 on the defense, great secondary, especially when Trey White gets back.
Mhm.
Like their only weakness, their only thing that they don't really excel in is the run game. And hopefully they assume that James Cook or Devin Singletary step up and help with that. But here's the thing. They don't really run that much. They really like to use the passing game. They like to have Allen throw 50 times a game. And if they want to say run the ball, they just run a lot of screen plays or a lot of short slants or something like that. So, but yeah, this team there's a reason that everyone's picking them to go to the Super Bowl, because this team is loaded. There's not a single weak spot on this team. The coaching is phenomenal. Sean McDermott has been in Coach of the Year conversations for at least the last 2 years. So yeah, if this isn't their year, then it's never going to be their year, because they are just primed and ready to go.
And
Go ahead.
And before we begin, Noah, when you just said that this may never be their year, somewhere Nate Moser was crying hearing that.
Yeah.
He's crying regardless. Oh man,
We love you, Nate. Shout out to you, buddy. We love you.
Fake news.
But anyway, yeah, I'm going to agree with Noah on that one. You know, you got Josh Allen, who should be MVP this year if he has a great season. Should be MVP. And with Stephon Diggs, the run game is weak, and that is and that is tonight. I think that is a area that the Rams defense is gonna know. So, but if Devin Singletary can hold the game and run the ball, I don't think that'll be a problem. But we got to see what happens on that. But everything else, I agree. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, that duo is absolutely amazing.
Okay,
So,
before, sorry to cut you off, Bill, but before we go into it, I do want to mention this because you bring up Singletary. He had 873 yards last year. Josh Allen was the second leading rusher on this team.
Yeah, you can't. As big, here's the thing: as big and powerful as Josh Allen is, and how durable he is, you can't get used to that, because you can't keep putting your quarterback out in those situations where he can possibly get hit on the sidelines or hit on the field, because because he hasn't been hurt. I mean, he might have had some injury back in his rookie year. I think he was out for like 4 games. He might have had like an ankle sprain or something, but he's never been hurt. Allen has played every single game, unless it was, week 18, they were already in lead.
No,
so
he plays anyway.
Right. He plays anyway. But so that kind of gets in dangerous territory, though, because if Josh Allen goes down, they're nowhere near what they should be. He is probably, when you talk about an MVP, he probably is, because he probably holds the whole entire Buffalo Bills team together. If he's not there, they're one of the worst. They're going to fall pretty far in the AFC, especially with the way the conference is right now.
I would rephrase that just a slight bit, because I think the defense is still good enough. So I agree with the sentiment that if he goes down, there are other teams in the AFC that'll catapult up as opposed to winning the AFC. I still think they'd be good enough to be a playoff team. The Super Bowl might be a little bit off, but they're very talented. Dan, your thoughts on the Bills?
I mean, the Bills, they're obviously the favorites to win that division, AFC. The AFC least, I'm calling it, because let's be honest.
Whoa, it's the AFC beast. What happened?
I respect the Dolphins enough to be like, yeah, they're gonna be fun and scary to watch, but they're incredibly overrated. So I'm sorry, I'm not. I just don't really trust it much. Jets are gonna stink. Patriots are gonna be So the Bills are cruising to that division. I'm banking on Josh Allen. Showed a lot in that Chiefs game in that divisional round, he not only showed that he can lead the team, but that he can carry all of the weight. And I'm expecting a lot of that this year. And if he comes up a little bit short of that, it's going to be a very disappointing season. I'm expecting better numbers from his receiving core. I'm expecting better numbers from the defense. The Bills have a great defense. And, an offense with under a new coordinator, let's be honest, it's not really a new offense, just a different coordinator.
Yeah.
They should be able to run it back and probably go to the Super Bowl.
Just don't flip a coin around him.
Yeah, because that's all they'll blame is this stupid coin toss.
Man, heads he flips out, tails he flips out.
No, that's loser talk. If you're gonna blame a coin on your,
I
know.
Agreed.
I agree with you.
Totally agreed.
Patch.
Yeah, the Bills are the favorite in the East this year for the AFC. But you also look at what they've done with this team. They signed 2 players to 4-year contract extensions with Diggs and Dawson Knox, both getting paydays. Diggs gets 4 years, $96 million. Dawson gets 56.3 for 4 years. So they're showing that they want to keep this team together, especially on the receiving end. And you guys mentioned the run game. I think the run game is fine with Singletary behind. Rifkin alluded to earlier, just over 800 yards rushing last season, 7 touchdowns. And we look at Allen as the second running back right now, but he had over 700, he had over 763, I think, and 6 touchdowns. 763, 6 touchdowns. So the run game is there. It's just they need to trust in Singletary more and not rely on Allen to run the ball if there's a situation. And I've mentioned this in my preview for tonight's game that Allen has to learn to throw the ball away in situations that he can't get a play out of. That will help them in this game and this season. If Allen learns to throw the ball away when a play can't be made, Bills are going to be fine, because when Allen decides to try to make a play game, that's either he gets sacked or he fumbles the ball, he gets picked off, and then that's when the Bills get in trouble. But it's going to be a great game tonight between the two, and I look forward to the Bills this season because, hey, Allen's going to be an MVP candidate this year if he stays hot.
And here's I'm going to give a PSA here. I disagree. I brought up the Singletary numbers, but I don't trust Singletary. If you're in a fantasy league and James Cook is available, scoop him up. At some point this season, James Cook, the younger brother of Dalvin Cook, will be the Bills' starting running back. I'd almost guarantee it. Just like Men's Warehouse.
Are we going to like the way we look?
I always like the way I look. That's just simple. As mentioned before, Von Miller was brought in, 9.5 sacks last year, 4 in the playoffs, 2 in the Super Bowl with the Rams. He comes into a defense that was really good, but he also brings, for me, something different for the Bills. He's a guy who's won. He's now won 2 Super Bowls. That experience, I think, is something that could also help the Bills here throughout the season.
He'll be a veteran leader in that locker room, and he'll be I don't think he probably will have his bright moments, but again, we have to understand, this is not prime Von Miller. This is Von Miller in the twilight years of his career. He'll still put up some decent numbers. I think he's more there, though, to teach these young guys and get that veteran presence in there and kind of elevate everyone else's game. When the other team's double teaming, whoever their number one pass rusher becomes, Von Miller will probably get his sacks. He'll probably get close to 9 or 10 sacks this year, but he's more of a locker room presence, I think.
Bill, you looked like you were going to say something.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Noah. My internet kind of sucks. But when you were Von Miller, I want to talk about specifically on tonight's game. Like, in the postseason, Von Miller led the NFL in pressure rate at 17% against playoff teams in 2021, among 47 players with 200 pass rushes in those games. And Matt Stafford can be in trouble because last season he threw the second most interceptions against pressure. So I think tonight's game, Noah, I would not count Von Miller out. I think he could serve a little bit of trouble for Mr. Stafford.
Oh, like I said, he will. It's just, it's hard to say. I'm not saying that he won't have an impact, but it's not going to be this world beater. It's not like you're getting prime Von Miller.
And Bill, you are neither David Bowie nor Freddie Mercury.
Oh, under pressure. I got it.
All right. So let's look into this game a little deeper. I'm looking X factor wise. Now, I want to go off something Noah talked about before. The no Trey White thing, I think, is a big in this game in particular. But it's also the other side because the Rams have this guy. He's pretty good. His name is Jalen Ramsey. So the Ramsey versus Diggs matchup I like, but it's also who's going to cover Cooper Kupp.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, I think that's a massive X factor here in this game.
I would agree with you, Mike, but I think this actually comes down to something else. My X factor, I guess, if we do that, my X factor is which offensive line protects their quarterback the best from the opposing front seven? Who gets more pressure on him? Because as Bill mentioned, Stafford was not good when he was under pressure. He does crumble a little bit. So, and for any quarterback out there, every quarterback's kryptonite is going to be pressure, especially if you can get it up the middle. Like no quarterback's going to do good when guys running right in their face. So, right, a huge X factor for me is going to be which offensive line protects more. Is Stafford going to have more time, or is Allen going to have more time? Because you still got to remember who's on the other side of that ball is Aaron Donald, and he can wreck any game that he wants to.
And you brought up the other guy earlier. If you want to double him, hey, Bobby Wagner's now behind him. Yeah,
Bobby Wagner's now behind him, and he can get pressure on Allen. So the X factor for me, whoever wins this game, is whose quarterback has more time. Does Allen have more time in the pocket, or does Stafford have more time? Because I think whoever does, that's going to be the winner.
Patch, X factors?
X factors, you got to throw Von Miller in there. If Von Miller can find a way to get through the O-line, he's going to get Stafford all day. Diggs, you got to throw in there. If Diggs can break free from secondary and Allen can get the ball to him deep, both of them are going to be a threat all game. Because if Allen can find Diggs deep and Diggs is free, that's an easy touchdown right there. No one's catching Diggs once he accelerates.
Dan?
To me, it's got to come down to the offense, like which offensive line, like Noah says, going to protect better, and also which playmaker is going to come out to shine. Who's going to have the better running back to make the big plays on third down if they're close to the line? Like first down line. It's to me, it comes down to who has the better offensive line, who has the better playmakers, whether that's on the receiving end, whether that's on the running backs. And I think that makes a huge difference. And on top of that, if anything, the quarterback as well. I think Josh Allen has a lot to prove, and Stafford's trying to, get rid of that Super Bowl hangover. So whichever one comes big.
It's really amazing because I see so many parallels between the Bills this year and the Rams last year. The Bills are the team that's going all in, and this is their year, and they have to do it for most people. So yeah, it's crazy how the two of them play in the week one opener, and they really this Bills season is really mirroring last year's Rams season.
And the way that goes is like you could circle every game that the Bills play and the Rams for that matter. This is a big game. This is a fun game. This is a really fun game. Like eventually the Bills will play the Chiefs again this year. They play the Packers this year.
Yeah.
They play so many teams, and the Rams. They'll play the Cowboys. They'll play the Bucks. Actually, at the end of the year, the Bills will play the Bengals. So both these teams, you're right, and every team's going to circle them in this.
Every AFC team's going to look at the Bills and be like, "That's our measuring stick."
Yeah, exactly. And the NFC with the Rams,
right?
Bill,
my X factor for the game, I think it's going to be who can cover the wide receiver core for each team, because what you have with Josh Allen, you got Stephon Diggs. Who can cover Stephon Diggs? When it comes to, with Los Angeles, who can cover Cooper Kupp? Who can cover Allen Robinson? I think that's going to be the huge X factor for those games. For that game is who can cover the wide receiver core, because like you guys said earlier, the run game when it comes to Buffalo, if they got to be forced to use that, cover Stephon Diggs, cover the wide receiver.
All right. So as we said, both these teams are looking to make, well, for the Rams, another Super Bowl run. For the Bills, it'd be their first. But who's the biggest threat to both teams? Conference. I'm going to go in the conference. I know, Bill, you would put in the divisions, but I think the divisions are kind of easy because for the Rams, it's the Niners. And if the Bills don't win the AFCs, which I just can't see, the only team I think it could be is the Dolphins, but I don't even think that's a thing.
We don't know yet. We don't know what they are.
Exactly.
So if we're going biggest threats in each conference, for the Rams, the Rams are honestly kind of tough because is it their team in their own division or is it somebody else? I think for the Rams, because honestly, if you look around the league or the NFC, I'm not scared of the Packers. They're just going to win off Aaron Rodgers, but what has Aaron Rodgers done in the playoffs so far? He's crumbled. I look in the East. Cowboys, I need to see them play the Cowboys. They'll see them in week 5. I don't know. I don't know what the Cowboys are this year. Are they going to take massive steps forward? Are they taking massive steps back? I don't know yet. Eagles, again, I need to see what they are. Looking at the South, I guess for the NFC, for the Rams, it has to be Tampa Bay just because of who's at quarterback. That's really all I can say. Now, if you go to the Bills, my God, you could pick from 8 teams, and I think they would all have a good argument as to why they're the biggest threat. You could pick anyone in the West. You could pick the Colts because the Colts smoked the Bills last year. You could pick the Titans because the Titans have always had the Bills number. I, though, am going to go with the reigning defending AFC champions. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. I think people are sleeping on the Bengals a little bit because people are not expecting to have as good of a year as they did last year. And I can't see how people understand. I don't understand how people see that. They got to the Super Bowl last year and they would have won the Super Bowl had they had an offensive line. Well, now they do have an offensive line. They got Lyle Collins, they got Kappa, they got Karras. They now rebuilt their offensive line. You got Joe Burrow with the best receiving core in the league, and there's no denying it. Chase, Boyd, Higgins are all phenomenal. You've got a great running back in Joe Mixon. Defense is much better than it has any right to be.
I see Eli Apple.
Yes, Eli Apple. But yeah, no, I think the Bengals are really the biggest competition in the AFC for the Bills because if you're looking at those two teams, who can keep up with the Bills in a track meet? And I think it's the Cincinnati Bengals, especially with that wide receiving core. Because again, like I said, Chase is doubled, Higgins is doubled somehow. Oh, okay, there's Tyler Boyd in the slot.
All right. I'm going to simplify this. Does anyone not have the Bucs as the biggest threat to the Rams?
I mean, I had the Niners.
Oh, okay.
only because one division. I know we wanted to cut out the division.
No, that's fine. It works.
But to me, I think that they're a pretty balanced team. The fact that they're committed to Debo Samuel, something that was a question during the offseason. The fact that they're committed now to him, and they're trying to build something in San Francisco. I think they can present a huge threat to the Rams easily.
Okay. Patch.
Yeah, if we'll do 2-2, I guess, for each team. For the Bills, it's Kansas City and the Bengals, the two top teams, top 5 teams. Those 3 teams, and you can probably throw 200 names for a top 5 in the league. But if you're looking at biggest threats, it's the Bengals and the Chiefs. Come on, Joe Burrow and company, ready to go again for another run. And Pat Mahomes, I think, is looking out for a little revenge to get back to the Super Bowl, get another monkey off his back, get that second ring going. Looking at the Rams, you got to throw Tampa Bay in there. You just can't because Tom Brady will do Tom Brady things. But I think the Cowboys can be a big threat to the Rams. Dak Prescott's out to prove. He's out to prove something finally because, the Cowboys are lingering still in the 90s for some reason where they should at least have 1, if not 2 Super Bowls in the 21st century. But they can't get that monkey off the back, and I think this is their year to get that monkey off their back and get themselves an appearance in the Super Bowl.
Did the old ops guy text you to say that?
No, he did not. But that's not feeling because, you know what? As a Packers fan, I don't trust the Packers right now to be a threat. Because, yes, you have Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers now has a wide receiver core that is younger than probably us.
Mm-hmm. I will say I wanted to say the Cowboys, but I didn't want to be a homer. But I will say this: there is something that I think people are sleeping on the Cowboys with, and that is everyone is finally fully healthy because Dak had his ankle issue last year. Zeke had a torn something in his knee. He tore something in his knee last year, and he never played the same after that. But
meniscus?
I think it was a meniscus tear. Okay. But he only missed 1 or 2 games. I saw a stat the other day that actually got me, that I didn't even realize was before Zeke had that injury, he was averaging 106 yards a game and 1 touchdown at least a game. He was looking like the old Zeke before he had that injury, and then his productivity rapidly declined.
Does Tyron Smith not being there worry you at all?
It does and it doesn't, because here's the thing. We haven't had Tyron Smith for a full year in 5 years at this point. I think the last healthy season might have actually been 2020. Maybe he had 2020 was a full season, but then he was injured in 2019. He was injured in 2018. He was just injured so much. And I remember when they drafted Tyler Smith, I was like, I don't know why we went for a tackle. Well, this is why. You needed the replacement for Tyron Smith. And so I think getting him in, he's been proving a lot in practice and in preseason games. He did have some holding penalties, but I mean,
everyone has holding penalties because everyone in the NFL holds. I'm sorry, but they can call holding on every play.
Yeah. And some of them were the guy falls over, Tyler Smith falls on top of him. They call it holding. Excuse me?
Yeah, it's so.
But no, I think Tyler Smith will actually be good in that position. If for the other tackle position, if they don't succeed, I believe it's Terrence Steele at this point. They signed Jason Peters. Maybe he can step in. I'm not expecting him to be the old Jason Peters, but who knows? I'm not that all concerned with the offensive line right now. So, and I mean, it's funny because I feel like people sleep on Dak so much, but look at his numbers last year. He had a 65% completion percentage. He had 37 touchdowns to only 10 picks. He threw for almost 4,500 yards. It's I don't see how people sleep on him.
All right. Bill, quickly, biggest threats to the Rams and the Bills.
Okay. In the NFC, I'm actually going to say, I hate to say it, Brady, because, Tom Brady and all that line there, Mike Evans and all that. When it comes to the Bills, I'm going to say the biggest threat, and Pat said it too. I'm going to say it's either going to be the Chiefs or the Bengals because you got Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce. But the one big thing that makes me a little nervous about the Chiefs is, you don't got one of Mahomes' top targets anymore, and that's Tyreek Hill. So that makes me a little nervous when it comes to the Chiefs.
And that's why I don't view them as a threat, really, because I don't know what
but that's a little
look like.
I will admit it's a little nerve-wracking when you don't have your top receiver anymore.
I will agree with you too, because I really think people are underestimating how much Tyreek Hill leaving is going to affect the Chiefs. I really think people are underestimating that.
Yeah.
Yes, you got Travis Kelce to throw to, but
yeah, and for all we know, Mahomes could be this otherworldly quarterback like Tom Brady is, and
he could be the
work with
second
anybody.
coming of.
But
You know what's
here's
funny,
the
though?
thing. He's got the great hair.
Hey, here's
got the
interesting
hair.
thing.
He's got
Here's
the
an interesting
hair.
thing, though, Dan. You say Patrick Mahomes could become one of the legendary quarterbacks, and I love when people talk about that, like, oh, Valdez-Scantling will be elevated and Juju will be elevated under Mahomes. I'm like, wait, Mahomes hasn't earned that title yet because every season he's had Hill.
Because we don't know yet. Because we don't know.
Exactly.
He's only had one huge target and
Yeah.
three, minimal targets. That
Brady and Rodgers have done it with multiple people. Patrick Mahomes hasn't.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing that makes me a little nervous. And this is because I was originally going to say Kansas City, but Noah, congratulations. You convinced me with Cincinnati because, like you said, they are under. Look what happened last year. Joe Burrow, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. You got a great team there. You got a great freaking team there.
And they saw the one hole on their team and went, fixed it.
Tyler Boyd. And that's the thing. And you know what? I think that could be a threat to Buffalo. Because like I said, I was originally going to say Kansas City, but after much thought, meditation, and contemplation, and Noah, because he's a smart dude, not as smart as me, but I'm just having some fun.
come on, man.
Guys, I'm just having a little fun.
All right.
I know.
But you know what? After much contemplation, I'm like sitting there thinking, Kansas City, Tyreek Hill, that's a little concerning. No Tyreek Hill, that's a little concerning.
Well,
maybe Mahomes is the second coming of Tom Brady, and maybe by the end of the season, I'll be sitting here eating my words. But
I mean, you need everything else. So, yeah, I'm gonna go Bucks NFC. I'm gonna go Ravens in the AFC. I think that's the one team you're all sleeping on. There's one word to describe the Baltimore Ravens. They're healthy. They were the walking wounded last year. Actually, let me rephrase it. They were the walking dead last year. J.K. Dobbins tears his ACL during training camp, and then guess what? They had the law firm of Devontae Freeman, Latavius Murray, and Tyson Washington in their backfield.
I got to ask you one question, though, Mike. Who's Lamar throwing the ball to?
Listen, Mark Andrews, they drafted Isaiah Likely, Coastal Carolina tight end, Charlie Kohler, Iowa State tight end, Rashad Bateman, I think could be healthy. I think what they're going to do is they're going to line up these tight ends and they're just going to go big boy on them. Because Likely and Kohler are both guys, while they're bigger framed guys, they can go after the catch. That's in their college career. So I love the rate. And I love John Harbaugh. I think John Harbaugh, we always credit Tomlin with how good the Steelers are. I don't think John Harbaugh gets enough credit for how good of a coach he is.
I'll agree with that.
And they also have the secret weapon of the NFL, Justin Tucker.
Now, question.
Yes.
Does Lamar's demands ruin the dynamic Sunday against the Jets?
I think Lamar's good. If I'm Lamar, I wouldn't sign a contract till after the season because I think he's going to have a great year. Play with that chip on your shoulder, man. Because if I'm him, and this is there's an ironic part to this because of who's playing quarterback for the Jets. I would do the same thing Joe Flacco did. Play with a chip on that shoulder. You get to as far as you can get, which I think for the Ravens, spoiler alert, the Ravens, in my opinion, are the team that's going to the Super Bowl. And then Lamar cashes in. He cashes in so much quicker than that dope Austin Theory.
Okay.
So let me ask you something, Mike. Let's
Okay.
just say, for argument's sake, that all happens real quick. Just a quick hypothetical. Lamar has an amazing year. He actually wins the Super Bowl. Can Baltimore afford that, or does he look elsewhere?
So I think what they'll do is if they can't get a deal done, they'll franchise him. That way they continue to work out the extension.
Gotcha.
Because I think it makes so much sense for both sides for him to be there and them to have him.
Yeah, you can't. It's one of those things where you can't let a Super Bowl winning quarterback go if he does pull it off.
Right, exactly.
And you franchise tag him.
Right, exactly. All right. Very quick on the 2-minute warning or rapid fire, whatever we're going to call it. And then we'll go into game predictions. First question, really quickly, guys. Game on Sunday you're most looking forward to? Outside of your own team, no homerisms.
Okay, outside of your own team, I mean, let's go to the AFC West. Let's go to the first time we're going to see that crazy division go at it, and that's going to be the Raiders and the Chargers. That game, I mean, we talked about it on Wishbone, Mike.
We did.
I really think this division, all 4 teams could be 3-3 in their division. I really think so. Like this division is so stacked. Every single team has an X factor. You've got KC has Mahomes. Broncos finally have a quarterback. They've got Russell Wilson. You've got Justin Herbert in LA. You got Derek Carr and now Devontae Adams in Las Vegas. They all have a playmaker on defense. They all have multiple playmakers on defense. That division is going to be insane. So the first game of that.
And cheap plug. Last night's Wishbone Shotgun will be uploaded soon. Listen to that wherever you get your podcasts.
Absolutely.
Dan, game you're most looking forward to?
So I'm gonna surprise you a little bit. It's a 1 o'clock matchup between the Colts and the Texans. Only because I'm very curious to see one, how the Colts deal with this new quarterback in Ryan. See how that happens. And also see how the Texans, with all the crap that people talk about them, see how they handle themselves week 1.
Like them finally coming out of the Deshaun drama.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Don't forget, week 13 or week 12, Watson comes back, plays the Texans. Never
In
forget.
Houston.
In Houston. Patch, week 1 game.
I'm torn between two. I'm torn between, Baker's return to face Cleveland. So you got that going for you. And what the situation in Cleveland's going to be with their quarterback competition. But also you have to give credit to Sunday Night Football. Tom Brady going against the Cowboys. You got Tom Brady who, came out of retirement. He pulled a Brett Favre. You can say that now. He pulled a Brett Favre. And then you got the Cowboys who just look absolutely healthy. And I think that the Cowboys are going to finally beat Tom Brady because Tom Brady has never lost to the Cowboys. He's 6-0 against them. I think the Cowboys can come away with a win at home in Jerry World and start the season off right.
Well, remember that was the opening day game last year, and it was fantastic.
Oh, it was a great game.
Listen, you got America's quarterback against America's team and America's owner. What gets better? And then Chris Collinsworth telling you he loves everyone on both teams. Bill, the game on Sunday.
I actually going to pick the Monday night game. Is that okay?
No, that's fine.
I'm
Your opinion.
Russell coming back to Seattle, Denver, and Seahawks. I would like, not just seeing Russell Wilson come back to Seattle, but I would like to see how is Russell Wilson going to be with his new coach, Nathaniel Hackett, how he's worked with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just really curious to see how that's going to be this year, how that dynamic is going to be.
All right. I'm going to go Chiefs Cards. I'm intrigued by the whole Mahomes without Tyreek thing. And I'll say this about the Cardinals, and I don't apologize to the state of Arizona for this. I think the Cardinals are extremely overrated, except when they're wearing those sweet new black uniforms. Those are sweet. Team on the field, I don't trust them. I don't trust Kyler. I don't trust Clifford, the big red bird. They both got extensions that were undeserved. I'm not a believer in the Cardinals, so I'm going.
You say that you say the black uniforms, Mike, and I love them. But I just want to shout out real quick the best uniform now in football, and that's the Bengals with their white uniforms.
The white ones,
oh my God, that's already I can't wait to see the debut of that uniform.
Oh my God, they have to wear it in the snow that way they can camouflage themselves.
I can't wait to see the debut of that uniform. That's gonna be so amazing.
All right, last one before we end it. The team we are overrating, the team we are underrating. I'll just start because I just said it. I think the team everyone overrates is the Cardinals. I don't trust the Cardinals. I don't trust Kingsbury. I don't trust Kyler. They're without Hopkins the first 6. Chandler Jones left for Vegas. So J.J. Watt's on an island on his own. So I think we overrate the Cardinals. Underrated. They're not a playoff team. But don't sleep on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Doug Peterson with Trevor Lawrence. You know what? Upset alert. The Jags are going to beat the Commanders in Washington Sunday. So the Jags are going to win their fair share. 5-6 games for the Jags this year. 3 of them just because Doug Peterson's not Urban Meyer.
I'm going to say a team that everyone's overrating. This one was tough. I gotta go with the Colts right now because we haven't seen them do it. We have Matt Ryan coming in. How much of an improvement is he over Carson Wentz? Is he that much? Is he like a huge winning game increase? Because remember, this team went 9-8 last year, put on a terrible performance against the Jags in their last game and missed the playoffs. People not having them as Super Bowl contenders. I need to see them beat good teams before I can buy into that. I need to see them actually get to the playoffs first before I can even buy that. And a team people underrating. I said this on Wishbone. Dan, I'm going with your New York Jets. I loved they had, honestly, top to bottom, one of the better off seasons of any team. Their free agent acquisitions and trades were out of this world. Uzama. Why can't I think of his name? Uzama, you get him. He's now a great pass catcher for Zach Wilson whenever he does return. I think you got a great running back in Breece Hall in the draft. You got Sauce Gardner. You've got, I just love all the moves that the Jets made this offseason to help Zach Wilson on offense. And the defense is going to be, I think, good under Robert Saleh. I would not be surprised if week 13, week 14 comes around and they won't be in there, but you can see the Jets in the hunt bubble for a couple weeks as far as the playoffs. I wouldn't sleep on the Jets this year.
Dan?
So before I respond to that, overrated, unfortunately, I have to say this. I think the Raiders are overrated. I don't think that. I mean, they're going to be a good team. Probably going to make playoffs again. But I just don't think that they're as good as everyone thinks they are. Really, I don't. Underrated. I don't know if Baltimore is getting a lot of love. I think Baltimore is getting a lot of crap. Trading players, Mars not happy. I think that's a better team than everyone thinks. And then, of course, I know this is going off book here, but I have to respond to that Jet comment that Noah made because I completely agree. I think everyone is underestimating the Jets. I really do. Now, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to have another losing season, which, again, losing season does not mean improvement. It's not. It's not an improvement. However, I think from what we saw from Zach Wilson whenever he comes back, from what we saw of him at the tail end of last season, and breakout stars like Michael Clark, a running back. You know he got hurt at the end of the year. And then the additions to the defense. I love Sauce. I expect him. I mean, I said this before. I expect Super Bowl champion Richard Sherman vibes by year 4 from him. So probably better than that. So yeah, no, I think the Jets are also being underestimated. I really do. With that said, if you want improvement, 9 and 8. That's it.
Okay. Patch very quickly.
Very quickly, overrated. I'm going to go with the Bucks, honestly, because the Bucks are an older team, and if everybody gets injured, that Bucks team is nothing. If Tom Brady takes one bad hit, yes, we know he's 45 and he's Tom Brady, and he can recover probably. But I feel if Tom Brady takes one bad hit, he's going to say, you know what, bad decision, I'm retired again.
Underrated?
Underrated the Dolphins. I think it's Tua time finally. It's Tua time. Dolphins are going to surprise people this year. Might they have an outside shot of winning the division, but I will give them a wild card spot this year.
Okay. Bill, very quickly.
I think we lost him.
Can you not hear me? Bill?
I think he froze. I think that's the problem.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
There he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
Hi. Overrated.
Quickly.
I am going to agree with you, Mike, and I'm going to say the Arizona Cardinals. Even though I do like Kyler, but some things are kind of just making Dolphins.
Okay.
I got to see how it's going to be with Tua and Tyreek Hill. I think we're going to be seeing an interesting team there in Miami, and with the new coach. And I was to say this earlier, I think the Dolphins are the biggest threat to the Bills in the division.
Yes. All right. Before we go, game picks. Who wins and what's the score?
I'm going Rams get the, I guess people will call it an upset. I'm going to go Rams get the upset 27-24.
I'm going to say go Buffalo. Bills are going to win 27-21.
Me, it's the Rams, and it's going to be a tight one. I'm thinking 17-14.
Ooh.
Patch?
I'm going to go on the high scoring, and I got Bills Mafia for our good pal Noah and for Mama Patch, 35-32. I'm going to go high scoring tonight. I think it's going to be a shootout to start the season.
I'm going to go high scoring too because I have Josh Allen on one of my fantasy teams. I'm going to go Bills 38-35. All right. That'll do it for this edition of Thursday Night Gridiron. You can check out Thursday Night Gridiron every week at the Sports Insanity Network's YouTube page. You can check out Sunday Sideline Report, which will air Sunday morning. You can check out all the podcasts at Anchor, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com, for blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. And for Bill Murphy, Lawrence Lang, Danny Boy, Reginald Day, Ryan Snow, Tremblay, I'm Mike Griffin. Thank you for listening to Thursday Night Gridiron Week 1. Have a good night. Enjoy the game, and namaste.
Namaste.
Say goodnight to your mama. Your mama loves you. Say goodnight to your papa. Papa loves you too.